Hello my dear learners, how are you doing? Welcome to yet another episode of a geography lesson by teacher Nangoma Drusilla. Senior 2s, we are together today. We are going to look at transport in Switzerland. When I talk of transport in Switzerland, as we start this video, I want you to be able to define transport by the end of the lesson. I want you to be able to describe the different types of transport used in Switzerland, and you should be able to explain why Switzerland's railway system is highly developed. So, let's get started in our lesson. What is transport? How would we define transport? I have defined it in my simple terms as the movement of animals, human beings, goods and services from one place to another. So if you wake up in the morning, you want to go somewhere, you simply move. That act of moving from one place to another. Or you're carrying goods, put them on a bus, they are transported from one place to another. That is what we call transport. So, after looking at that definition, I want us to go into Switzerland and look at transport in detail. What types of transport do they use? Okay, so that is going to be our next slide to see how many transport systems or networks, how many means of transport do they use in Switzerland. Now in Switzerland, they mainly use the railway transport, which is very largely developed. They use trains. Their rail systems are very well developed. Then there is also air transport, water transport, and road transport. So today in this lesson, we are going to look at each of these types of transport in detail. Okay, so in Switzerland, the biggest or the major means of transport they use is by train, and that is the railway type of transport. It is very extensive and it is very highly electrified. When you go to Switzerland, you'll be amazed by the railway systems crossing through the Alps mountains, meandering through the different steep slopes, and you will not forget to see the Cog station or the Cog train and the funicular train. These are the prominent operating railway systems or the train systems that are working in Switzerland. So when I talk of railway transport in Switzerland, we need to know Switzerland has the most highly developed transport or railway system in the Rhinelands. So why did they embark on railway transport? They invested most of their energies, monies, and resources into developing a very efficient railway network. So why? They did that because there was need to transport and facilitate tourism to link to the different tourist resorts. Then they had to facilitate the distribution of industrial goods and movement of labor. Then not to forget that the strategic location, remember we said Switzerland is in the heart of Europe. It is in the center of, so its central location in Europe made it a natural route to link the different railway links. Okay, so that is why they were able to develop a very efficient railway network. Everyone literally uses the Switzerland railway systems. So that is why when I talk of railway transport, the use of a train, schedule going where, which cargo is going where, Switzerland could be our leading point. They don't only depend on railway transport, but they also have other types of transport. Now, when you look at this, is how the cog train looks like, driving through the sharp, hard rocks of the Alps mountains. They were able to develop an efficient railway network despite the mountainous and rocky nature of the Alps region. Okay, this is another Ladvasa or the funicular train. We realize it can carry cargo, it is effective, it has time bonds, but it is very efficient. It is better than about 100 taxis here in Uganda. So that is Switzerland for you. Okay, so if you're to look at this beautiful cargo railway line, okay, you realize that Switzerland is one place you would love to go and visit. You realize that it can meander, this railway line can meander through the hard rocks. So if you had to look at those pillars that were put to support the railway system, you realize that that is a lot of money. It was a very costly project. So let's look at another type of transport that the people of Switzerland also use. That is the air transport. This one is not very much great. This is not very developed, but we have airports that are found in Bern, in the city of Geneva, and Zurich. So these airports are the ones that handle cargo or handle people from the different neighboring countries of Italy, France, Germany, Austria, and that is how also their air transport system works. Then the other part or the other type of transport you can look at when you go to Switzerland is the Rhine water way on River Rhine. So when I talk of a river and a drainage system, you automatically think of water transport. So water transport in Switzerland is mostly developed at the Rhine River. They came up and established a Rhine water way to be able to utilize the rivers of River Rhine. River Rhine, remember I told you, is the main river supplying the Rhineland region. It crosses most of the countries in the Rhine lands. So in this case, the government of Switzerland sat down and found a way of utilizing the River Rhine waters by setting up ports that can handle imports like cotton, petroleum, that can handle things like turbines, as well as that same port would be used to handle exports, the goods that Switzerland manufactures for purposes of export. Those are the automobiles, the precision goods, the cameras, and microphones. So when I talk of water transport, think of the Rhine water way. A prominent, it has canals on it. It was put to fight and deal with the flooding, to deal with the traffic congestion that was on the train stations, to deal with the delay of the goods. So all those problems were solved by the construction of the Rhine water way. Another type that you can find in Switzerland is the road transport. The road transport in Switzerland is the least developed. Why? Because most of the area is highly mountainous. So you would find roads in the Swiss plateau because it is easier to construct the roads in the flat areas. But despite the fact they are few, they are still good quality roads. You still find cars moving on such well established tarmac roads. they put pillars to support, to elevate, and to level the land. Now these roads are the ones that connect to the different other means of transport. You can connect to a rail station, they can connect you to a water system, they can connect you to an airport. So that is SW3ITZERLAND for you. These, if you're to realize, these are very expensive projects because they involve having to level the ground. They have to put those pillars that you see. I think in the bypass has these pillars. So, and I think in Uganda you see how very expensive the road projects are. Now imagine in SW3ITZERLAND, that is what they do mostly. So meaning it is very expensive. But that is about the transport of SW3ITZERLAND. Now quickly, after looking at the nature of the transport network, what do you think are some of the problems that the transport sector of SW3ITZERLAND faces? I think if you're to think with me, the biggest problem we can look at is the mountainous nature. Most of SW3ITZERLAND, we said, is highly mountainous. Okay, 70% of the area is highly mountainous. So that alone hinders potential transportation means. So it is very hard for them to construct roads. That is why the road transport network is very limited. Okay, then we have the traffic congestion on the Rhine River. Despite the fact that there is the Rhine waterway, the Rhine waterway is the busiest waterway used by Germany, Italy, France, Netherlands. You know, it is used, it is the busiest. So that is why they had to look for other methods, other means of transporting the goods, because it would cause delays. The traffic, because goods carried from all countries in the Rhineland regions would be using the Rhine waterway. So to solve such issues, that is when they embarked on extending or expanding their transport sector into other areas like air, like through the train systems to handle the cargo and overcome the problem of traffic congestion. Then another problem that these people face are the cold winters. When it is winter season, the snowfall can block the roads. Okay, and when the snowfall has blocked the roads, we cannot move. So also the snow can make it hard for the people or for business to proceed. And if it is not snowfall, it is the melting of the snow during the summer and spring, and that can cause flooding. So these people of SW3ITZERLAND are not as lucky as well. If it's not winter, it is the floods. So that limits and discourages the movement of people. Then occurrence of avalanches. An avalanche occurs when snow melts from the mountain. So this can lead to blockage or destruction of transport routes. Okay, if for example to take you back a little bit to where we have, I want to show you a situation where there is a possibility of an avalanche happening. Now like this, like here. Okay, if that is the case and we have ice melting from up here, an avalanche occurring from there or coming from there, do you see how it can fall in the middle of the train, in the middle of the railway system, and it can be a very big hindrance to the transport network. Let's proceed and look at another problem that the people of SW3ITZERLAND experience. So occurrence of avalanches, occurrence of fog limits visibility, and it also creates hindrances. Then to make matters worse, SW3ITZERLAND is highly landlocked is like Uganda, the problems we share are literally the same, and that problem is the high taxes imposed on the transport. Whenever they are transporting goods from other countries into Switzerland, or if Switzerland wants to export goods from Switzerland to other countries, they have to pay exorbitantly, and that disrupts the economy. So having looked at all that, I want us to list down the types of transport in Switzerland. If you have any others, add them onto your list. Submit the work on our Google Classroom. Our code is DBULZEA. After doing that, after watching this video, please click onto the right hand corner. There is a button of subscribing. Subscribe to this channel so that you're able to watch more lessons. Then go ahead, if you look for this playlist, this video of mine, go ahead and look for Christian School Owners Association. The playlist will be there. Otherwise, I'm happy to teach you. We are going to meet again in our next lesson. Be blessed, stay respectful,